Well, starting level one really was a journey. I had the good fortune of working about 25 or 26 years for a large organization where you get a lot of really good experiences. But there comes a point in time where the opportunity to do something different, something that you're passionate about, really comes to the forefront. And for me, the banking industry had changed so much. I really thought there was a better way to do banking. There had been so much consolidation, so much centralization of the banks. I really thought that there was a better way to put an organization together and really to operate in a local market. Banking is a very personal experience, and that had changed over the years that I'd been in banking. So I was fortunate enough to find other like-minded souls who were in a position where doing something different was really the right thing to do. We started forming in late 2006 and really launched the project in 2007. And I will say we were a bit naive, not really understanding what was happening in the marketplace. The world was changing rapidly, and as we were putting the bank together, we started to see that the economy was faltering. Some of the banks were having some challenges, and we probably underestimated the work ahead of us.
When I came across Pat Ferry looking to form a bank, here all of a sudden I had the chance to consider joining an entrepreneurial organization, but at the same time do what I already knew how to do, which was banking. And because of that, I was, it was unique relative to any other bank kind of opportunity. And instead of getting a signing bonus, I wrote a check to buy stock in the bank. So very different in that regard. And I made the decision to leave Comerica. And about a week later, they announced that they were leaving the state. So it all came together in the right fashion, and I jumped into this journey with Level One. Starting the process of getting the regulatory approval, getting getting the equity in place, getting the systems and technology and people in place. And we opened our doors in October 2007. And then my first entrepreneurial experience was having the banking industry collapse around us. So 6 months after we opened our doors, we ended up with the whole industry going through a fundamentally difficult period. And that's where the entrepreneurial challenge really came to play, because much like with our clients where we get projections and budgets and want to look at what they're going to do in the future, our bank had put together a whole bunch of that kind of information, and then it had the opportunity to sort of throw in the trash can about 6 months later. As interest rates started to decline, our budgets had an 8% prime in them. By the end of the year, we're at 3.25%. Fundamentally changed everything we were doing. Our break-even point was way out further than it was originally planned for, and we really had to revamp how we were looking at the whole business.
And when I came in, there was a room with a single desk where Holly Dapolito was sitting at the time, and some ceiling tiles were missing. It was a little messy. It did not look like a bank at all. Of course, we weren't open at the time. I went back, I met with Greg in this office that also had minimal ceiling tiles and lots of air conditioning going through the top. It was really loud. We talked about the vision of the bank and what they were trying to do within the local market, and Pat came in and I met him. We talked about building a credit department, and how we would do that, how we would build the procedures and the policies. And I left thinking these guys are crazy, but they are definitely onto something and I want to be a part of it. We were sitting in our suite, and there were about 6 of us, just random desks pulled together. We were working, and I kept looking at my trash, wondering who's gonna take the trash out. And I came back the next day, it was kind of still there, and I found out I was supposed to take my trash out. So that was funny in the beginning stages. We were really wearing multiple hats, and we were doing everything from A to Z.
Because when I came in to interview, there were 4 desks on the side of one side of the room, and there was another desk on the other side, and nothing else. No paperwork, no. They did have a small conference room, and I thought, oh my gosh, I cannot believe that they're starting a bank. And I thought, well, let's see. And then it was just a short time later that they started to take the wall down, put the drive up, and we were starting to talk about buying ATM machines. And it was amazing to me to go from having nothing to having to build a bank, and it was an incredible experience.
Yeah, when I joined the bank, the branch was not opened yet, and I was hired as an assistant manager. And I remember the very first day, the first customer that we opened the account. Unfortunately, there was not the system was not set up right, or we didn't have the form, but we, made up all that, the procedure forms and all that on the fly. And it was a very interesting first few months to get the branch up and running.
Now I do think about it, what made me leave a bank that I was already at, just to come to a bank that's just starting, knowing nothing. I'm happy I didn't think too much about it. It was just the impression of just my interview, meeting everyone that was there at the time. I knew that it was just something I wanted to try, just to be a part of it, starting from the ground up. And I'm actually happy I did. And in the beginning, it was not a lot. I don't remember how many of us it was, but basically it was just a handful. Because I remember our meetings used to be in conference rooms where we'd just have one table and still have extra seats. Now we are just packed to capacity. And now looking back at it, I'm happy I didn't give it much thought to think about starting from the bottom. And it's just been a journey and a very successful one.
But I had known Pat from Fifth Third, loved who he is as a leader and as a person, and has a lot of depth, great vision. So when I joined the bank, it was really more because I knew him well. I had other opportunities at other banks at the time, but really liked and respected Pat, and then ended up meeting Greg. And Greg and I hit it off, and it was a great match. And it was great beginning for us because the reason I came here was an opportunity to build something, to actually create and help develop something that is different from what big banks have been doing in the past.
The energy was quite different than coming from a bigger bank. I think that everyone was so in tune to what they were doing because you were starting from scratch. You were starting your own group. It was like your own little entrepreneurial business that you were starting for treasury management. Like I said, there was no one in the department. It was just me. There was no TM. There were no customers. So, I had to build it from the bottom up. And I worked closely with the lenders, and we all worked great together. And it was just great energy. We used to have sales meetings. It'd be like 4 of us at the sales meeting. But the good thing was that we could see the growth. You could see the incremental growth. You could see your contribution to the bank, and it made you feel so good. I think I like the fact that if I added one treasury management customer, I could count the fees, because back then we didn't have as many customers, so I would keep track myself. And if Pat said, well, what did we do last month for remote deposit capture? I pull out my little spreadsheet and say, we have 10 new customers and they're paying we made $500, so I could actually see the growth.
When we were looking for a name for Level 1 Bank, one of the first pieces of advice I got was that it would be difficult to find a bank name. And I kind of scoffed at that at first and thought, how can that be difficult? There's about 20 words that are used in bank names, and every bank has some combination of those words. Well, the good news and bad news, we were both right. It was difficult to find a bank name because those 20 words are used in different combination. Words like first and republic and guarantee and fidelity and citizens. Because they're used so frequently, it's very difficult to use that a name like that in today's world when you need proper positioning on the internet, you need proper copyright protection. So we started going in a whole different name. We wanted a name that reflected a more contemporary feel to the organization. So we looked at non-traditional names. So we have a whole list of names that I pull out and laugh at from time to time that includes some very non-banking type names. Those weren't resonating with our directors, who were a bit more traditional. So we wanted to pick a name that denoted quality or premium, and we also wanted one or first in the name. A couple of our directors are involved in industries where Level 1 certification or Level 1 quality is very important, and that is very true in areas, entrepreneurial areas like technology and healthcare and biotech. And a few of our directors had brought that to our attention. We started talking about level 1 as a level 1 certification, as a level 1 designation, as a level 1 premium. So that eventually resonated with the group, and level 1 it was.